This incident took place the day after Christmas. It was about 7 o'clock at night. I was driving down the street. I had just left my home. I just left my family. I was going to get us some food. And as I'm driving down the street, you know, it's the day after Christmas. It's not a lot of people outside at this point in time, but it's a major street. And as I'm driving down the street, I noticed a red reflective light kind of in the interior of my car, which caused me to look into the rear view. And when I did, to my surprise, I saw an Oakland Police Department SUV right behind me. And so I'm thinking to myself, wow, where'd they come from? You know, I'm surprised I didn't see the flashing light before it was right on my bumper of my car. So I just slightly kind of pulled over, pointed the car towards the curb. So after I noticed that this police officer behind me has his gun out, they tell me, get out the car right now! Get out the car right now! And it had me stunned. And as I look over my shoulder, I see that the officer is in the stance and has his gun pointed at my car. So I'm thinking about doing it, and I go to turn. I hear, driver, don't you move! Put your hands up! Put your hands up right now! And I put my hands up. But at the same time, I'm here, get out the fucking car right now, driver! Get out the car right now! And it's intense. The person on the left side is telling me, get out the car right now, has an intensity in his voice that I'll never forget. Because I knew that he was ready to shoot me if I didn't get out this car right now. But at the same time, I could tell that these officers on the right side, they're telling me, do not move, keep my hands up, and they have their guns drawn too. And right then and there, I'm put into this dilemma, into this paradox. What am I gonna do? Because I have seen far too many videos of black and brown people shot and killed by the police in this exact scenario. When they're in a car, they make a slight movement, they turn, the car moves an inch, and in that second, their life is taken from them. They're riddled with bullets, and they're gone. They're dead. They become a hashtag. They become a t-shirt. They become a movement. I knew I had to negotiate my way out of this situation. I had to negotiate for my life. I had to be here to raise my kids, to love my family, to look out for my family. So as I'm sitting here with my hands up, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm nervous, I'm shaking, because I know I could be dead in any moment. I say, hey, you know, to get out the car, I'm gonna have to unlock the door and I'm gonna have to reach with my hand. So they say, all right, unlock the door. I was like, told them which hand. I said, I'm gonna use my left hand. So I slowly unlocked the door and brought my hand back up. And they're like, don't you move your right hand. Keep your right hand up. And I'm like, look, that's the last thing I'm gonna do right now. All I wanna do is live and survive. I'm thinking to myself, man, if something happens to me, who's gonna tell my story? I was alone. I was by myself driving the car. So as I'm getting out the car, I just try to appeal to the humanity of the officer. I go, hey man, I'm an attorney. And he tells me, we'll worry about that later, turn around. So I'm like, whoa, right? And now I had looked at him, I know he has a gun, and I kind of look, there's several other officers, all with their guns pointed at me. So I turn back around, I'm super nervous. He tells me, get on the ground. So as I'm turning back around, I'm kind of going through this, and I heard a voice, which in that moment felt like an angel. I heard somebody say my name. It was a woman's voice from across the street. She said, Adanté, Adanté. And I kind of just looked for a second. I could see her silhouette. I was like, I got your back. And I was just thinking to myself, thank God, somebody's here that's going to be able to be a witness to whatever takes place. So they told me to get down on the ground. So I'm going down to the ground. He tells me to get on my knees. So I get on my knees. He told me to cross my ankles. I cross my ankles. Then he tells me, lay flat out on the ground on your stomach. Now I got my hands up. So I'm coming down. I put my hands down. Now I'm laid flat out on the ground on my stomach. And I'm thinking to myself that they're going to come over and handcuff me right there. Tell me to put my hands behind my back. So I have my hands out in front of me and I'm just waiting on the direction. Then to my surprise, he says, crawl backwards. So I'm on the ground and I'm crawling backwards, and I turn around like, how far do you want me to go? Keep coming towards my voice. I'll tell you when to stop. I'm like, okay. So I keep going. And finally he's like, stop. And when I stop, officers come, put me in handcuffs, and they stand me up and they turn me around. And I can see now that there's several officers all out there with their guns on me. And they walk me over, they put me in the back of the SUV, and I can see there's a whole bunch of cops around. And the officers continue to still yell at my car. Passenger, get out the car! Passenger, get out the car right now! And they still have their guns on the car. And I'm thinking to myself, passengers, what are you doing? There's nobody in my car. But it was at that moment where I almost felt like I lost it. There are 2 car seats for both of my sons. What if they had been in the car with me? They had been turning their heads, moving around, wondering what was going on with Daddy, what's happening. And those officers, what if they had misinterpreted their head movements, thought that was somebody reaching for something, and had shot and killed my sons? It took everything in me just to hold it together in that moment. So the officers walk over to the car. They saw what they already knew, which is no one was in the car. Then the officer comes back and they say,
we got a call about a guy in a silver car with an AK-47 threatening to shoot somebody. Matches your description.
A silver car? Do you know how many silver cars are in Oakland? That's the information you guys needed to pull out guns on a law-abiding citizen and an officer of the court?
This is not the time to start litigating. This is not the time for me to start pressing my case. Several minutes go by. I felt like an eternity. I'm locked in this cage. I have my hands behind my back. The handcuffs are tight. I have no power, no control in this situation. I didn't want to be exercising my rights, but wind up dead. So as I'm sitting there in the back of this police car, they finally come back over. They ask me, like, what's your name? Give me your ID. And I tell them, like, the wallet's in my car. You know, and they're like, what's your name? I'm like, the same name that the car is registered to, Adanté Pointer. They walk away. They come back. This time they come back, open the door, and I could tell it's a sergeant, stripes on his uniform. They pull me out the car. He says, you can let him go. Say, uncuff me. It's like, hey man, you know, sorry about that. You know, my guys were a little, and I said, aggressive? He was like, well, you know, they were responding to the call about a guy who shot an AK-47 from a silver car earlier today in Oakland. Now I'm sitting to myself, and just in those minutes that had taken place, the story's changed. It went from it being about somebody who brandished an AK-47 in a silver car to now it's about somebody who fired an AK-47 from a silver car.
They're just trying to do their job, sir.
No.
To protect the community.
That's
what their job is.
These cops were out of line. They need to be reprimanded. This is Exhibit A on why innocent people get shot and killed by police in the street. I see this every week at work. These guys barking 2 different commands, waving their guns the whole time. Do you honestly feel like this is the way you're supposed to handle these types of situations?
In that moment, I just wanted to get out of there, and I did. Because I knew that I would follow up, and I was going to use the legal process to vindicate my rights. The police commission reviewed this incident and realized and agreed that those officers had violated my rights. They had illegally searched my car, and then they didn't fill out the paperwork correctly. Essentially, they're trying to hide what they had done. Excuse it away. My name is Adanté Pointer. I'm a civil rights attorney. I've helped hundreds of people, hundreds of families who have had their lives destroyed, turned upside down, or taken away from them by abuse of the police.
Its video been watched around the world.
I thought I was going to be like the next Trayvon Martin.
Kane joining his attorneys at a news conference announcing a federal lawsuit against the city.